Welcome to Beyond the Capital, the podcast series from Supertech that explores the professional services tech scene outside of London. This is a special 4-part mini-series in partnership with the Women in Finance Collective. And if you're listening to this through the Advisor Tech Show podcast feed, you're very welcome here and thanks for joining us. The Women in Finance Collective is a new network to promote and support women who work in finance and fintech across the Midlands. I'm Hilary Smith-Allen. This is the first episode in our 4-part mini-series, so we're going to be finding out a bit more about the Women in Finance Collective. Why was it set up? What does it do? And who founded it? So to start, I'm joined by Tessa Lee, who's the Managing Director of Moneyinfo and one of the founders of the Women in Finance Collective. She's joined by Gemma Lounge, the Director of Operations for Jigsaw Tree, which is the other co-founding company behind the initiative. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Looking forward to our conversation today. Perhaps, Tessa, you could start with introducing yourself and why we're here.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. Very exciting. My name's Tessa Lee. I'm Managing Director and founder of a business called Moneyinfo. We are a fintech firm based right here in the Midlands, in not too far away, Hemley in Ardham. And we deliver best-in-class technology, digital relationship management technology, client portals for financial planning and wealth management firms. And the solution is designed to deliver really good client engagement for them, drive operational efficiency through their businesses, give them confidence in their compliant processes. And we work with firms of all different sizes across the country, actually, not just in the Midlands. But yeah, that's what we do.
Brilliant. And Gemma, can you tell us a little bit about Jigsaw Tree and your role within the collective?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jigsaw Tree specialises in helping firms fully utilise their CRM systems. And that can involve many different aspects. We can process map how firms are working, and we can configure the systems to align to those processes. We will train and we will continue with that support to ensure it's all embedded. We also have an outsourced arm, which is income reconciliation, where we're currently working with around 80 firms, and the outsourced administration, which, you know, makes life easier for a lot of advisors, and they're very busy administrators. And we've been working obviously with Tessa and Moneyinfo on the collective, and just really excited to see where that will go.
Broadly within financial services?
Yes, in financial services.
The same. So
we work together as well.
We do work together.
It's quite a nice combination. Yeah. You obviously do all the internal operation efficiency stuff for firms, and we give the technology to help bring that to life. So
we do.
That makes sense. And is that what helped bring together the starting point for the Women in Finance Collective?
Well, I suppose it did, didn't it, really? Because I've worked with Chris Page and Reed for a long time. We worked together actually in the same business too many years ago. I meant to really, but many years ago now. So we've worked together for a long time, obviously working with Jigsaw Tree, and we just saw an opportunity to do something different and to do something in the Midlands. And that's really where the Women in Finance Collective was sort of born from, I guess.
So why do you think it's needed then? What was the bit that you're honing in on and the purpose?
So I mean, for me, I think what it really brings for us is a local collective. I think there are nationwide groups where we can talk about issues and what challenges people are facing. But when you've got something locally, you've got a really good opportunity to build some really close relationships with your peers and really share those issues. And I think because it's local, you know, it's more relevant, I think, than perhaps the national side of things.
Yeah,
so
and I agree with that. And I think so much is done out of London these days. Every networking event you go to is in London, and most people in London think everybody's based in London. And obviously there was a real gap for us in the Midlands to bring together, you know, women of all different walks of life, working in finance, working in technology, working in financial advice and planning and wealth management, to really grow a community that's supportive, that's a really safe place for women to get together and talk about the challenges they might be facing in their careers, different topics, you know, and to really support and help each other. So I think there was definitely a gap, and hopefully one that we're filling very well now.
Absolutely. I think people feel comforted by as well, knowing that we're all facing the same
Well, it gives some purpose, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
What's the role of place? And you know, I think the word you said there is community, isn't it? And connections, and you just got that different bond, and actually bringing people together, because, you know, this isn't an online experience, is it?
Exactly. And I'd have loved that when I was younger in my career. We didn't have that, you know, and back then, even more so than now, it was still a very male-dominated industry, financial services. Quite often, you still are actually, quite often would be the only woman in the room. So to have that community of like-minded women and to see, my younger self maybe in that room, and what would I have benefited from back then. I think that's really important to be, a support for everybody, really.
So thinking about that support then, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges or needs of women in finance at the moment?
So I think there's a few things. I think there's a gap in leadership. So, I mean, I started in financial services 20 odd years ago, and I would say it's only been in the last sort of 8 years or so that I really understood the roles that are available to women in finance. We were very much driven towards the admin support side of things. And when I started with Jigsaw Tree, it really opened my eyes to what's out there. And I think a lot of people don't realise what there is available. And what routes that women can take.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a point there, Jem, which is there is still a lack of women in senior leadership roles within financial advice, financial planning.
So all these years on,
you still see that, and it's important that we encourage women. There's no reason for that. There's no physical reason for that or mental reason for that or anything. It's just the way that this has always been, and it's changing. I used to go to events years ago, and there might be less than 5% of the room was women. Now it's probably more like 15-20% are women. Yes, I was actually at a brilliant event on Friday, and the majority of the room was women, and that was really good to see. So I think, encouraging women, like you said, and to see that actually there is potential, there are opportunities for women in all walks of finance, and I think that's really important. And then the being the only woman in the room is still a challenge for a lot of women, and that's, sometimes it can come down to confidence. Lots of women have imposter syndrome. All of us have had that at some point. How can we help women get beyond that so that they can, achieve their potential, which is so, so important.
And I'm interested because you're obviously fintech and you're working a lot with technology deployed into clients. Do you think that brings more opportunity, or is it just more areas where, again, that feels quite male dominated at times, but roles in tech have broadened? I'm just interested to see the interface.
I think the roles in tech have broadened. I think there are certain parts of technology that are more frequented by women than not. So again, typically women have been in the project management type roles, the client services type roles, the support type roles. We're starting to see more women now in more technical jobs, particularly business analysis, product management. Less so in developers, coders. Less women are coming into that, and there's no reason again why they shouldn't. But we're starting to see that a little bit more now. So it is changing, and I think because technology is now at the forefront of our lives so much more than it ever was before, I think that's opened people's eyes as to what the possibilities are. So we are seeing a shift in we're seeing more women coming through into technology, I think, which is really positive.
Have you seen that in your client base at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly on the project side of things that Tess mentioned there about project management, and coming from a firm that is predominantly female, I think women are brilliant at multitasking, planning, being organised, getting things done. And I think that's why we see that on the project management. But the firms we work with on those projects, definitely there's a higher number of females involved in those project teams, making those decisions about the processes that actually they follow, not being told what they need to do, but really getting involved.
So how does it all work then? You got the name, there's a motivation.
Got a name, the Women in Finance Collective. So, we send out, we've been inviting women from our networks, basically between myself and Gemma and Chris and other people that are involved in the group. We've got a wide network of women within financial services, so we've reached out to all of them, and once a quarter we meet up at a Birmingham location, generally in the city centre here, because it's brilliant and there's lots of great places where we can meet. We'll set some theme maybe for the session. We generally have some speakers. We like to do a nice exercise, don't we, Gemma? Get people involved, doing something practical. And it's all about, furthering women in their careers, really, and giving them the support, maybe a bit of mentorship and advice and help that they need and that we can all benefit from. And actually, we all learn from it, not just, the people that attend. I learn so much every time we do one of these sessions as well. So really, the feedback we've had so far has been fantastic, how valuable it's been for the women that have attended. So we're hoping it will grow and grow and grow, and watch the space, and who knows where we'll be by in a year's time next year.
Yeah, I just started to pick up on that as well, because some of the speakers that we've had over the last couple of years, there's really been some oh wow, moments when they're talking, like, I've never looked at it like that. And it's just really great to hear other people's stories and their experiences. So that's what I love about it, and that's what I get
Can
out
you
of
bring an
it.
example? So what sort of things are you talking about?
Uh,
We talk about confidence. I'm going to ban that one slightly because we've got other podcast guests who are talking about that. But
yeah. I think for me, the last one we had a speaker, and she talked us through how she began in financial services and where she's ended up now. And interestingly, she and I finished school the same year. We did the exact same course.
Oh, wow.
Her first placement was straight into financial services. I didn't get into financial services till 8 years later. So she's kind of 8 years ahead of me. But the challenges and the journey she's taken is kind of very aligned to mine. I'm just that little bit behind. But it's really interesting to see where she's ended up just from where she started.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them are and will be that about people's real life stories that, the women in the room can really resonate with and connect with and understand. We've got a brilliant speaker coming up next time around personal brand. So lots of different topics that really can help women in their careers and in their networks. And it's just about broadening that network now as we move forward.
what do you hope the long-term success might be? You talk about next year, but let's think further.
I'd like to see it grow in numbers, obviously, and getting more and more women together. I'd like to see some real life success stories come out of it. I attended this networking group and from it I learned X, or I connected with this person. There's so much opportunity when you get people together in a space that they feel really comfortable in for them to further themselves personally. So I'd like to see some really nice success stories from the women that are part of that group. I think that's the most important thing, is how it's helped them in their personal lives, their careers, and within the finance arena.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think sharing those success stories will only help drive it further, wouldn't it? It will only get more people engaged and involved in it. So it'd be great to hear.
When we're here, it's 2025. I feel like this isn't a new conversation. It's a bit surprising in a way, isn't it, that we are still having it? That's very interesting. Why you think that might be in any personal experiences?
I think it's a yes and no on whether it's surprising or not. It should be very surprising in this day and age that we have these conversations still, and yet it's not. And I think financial services is not a fast-moving industry in terms of change, right? We see that in technology. We still lag behind in terms of technology adoption within financial services. So we're not quick to change in this industry. And I think historically, you look back, a good few decades now, it was very, very male dominated, if not completely male dominated at one time. And I think it's just the pace of change has been very slow. And when you bring tech into the mix, you see you kind of got double that impact, really, because again, technology traditionally was very male dominated as well. So I don't think it's surprising the pace of change, because we don't see that happening fast. But I think you're right, in 2025 that it should be different. But we're still, like I mentioned earlier, we're still in events and in rooms where women represent maybe less than 20% of the people in there. So lots to do, but that's what this is all about. We can drive that change for the better, and we can support those women that are coming into their careers and help them forge their paths, and it will change, and hopefully we'll see that pace accelerate. But I'm not overly surprised, I have to say, that it's the way it is still.
Yeah, I'd agree. Not surprising, but probably more disappointing that it's still the same. And, I talked a little bit earlier about when I first discovered what routes there were for me. But, 10, 15 years ago, I was with a firm. I'd been in admin, and I thought my only routes were paraplanning or advisor. I took the paraplanning route. Didn't love it, but I was surrounded by female paraplanners and female admin support, and all of those advisors were male. And for a youngster back then, that's pretty intimidating, actually. And when I moved to Jigsaw Tree and realised there were other routes, it was quite eye-opening. So for me, I think it's education. I'd really love to see more pushed out to schools, high schools, colleges about what women can do in finance, because it's not just admin support. As important as that job is, there are other routes to take.
According to other speakers, it's going to be a shrinking opportunity anyway in the current climate, with AI and reshaping roles. And
potentially, I don't see AI as a replacement for any of those roles. We're very much work with AI than use it to replace. We can grow from it, I think.
Yeah, I think it will change the way that we work, not replace.
No,
I saw it
absolutely.
like in the day when I started, typically as a woman in finance, as junior administrator for a financial advice firm, working for two brilliant directors. But again, all the sales guys, the advisors were male. And there's me with my spiral bam notebook, taking all the notes and doing all the admin. And in those days, God, it shows how old I am. Mm-hmm. In those days, we had a typing pool, so we would dictate everything to the typing pool, to type up memos and file notes and letters and everything. And then we took Microsoft Office on, and all of a sudden we were like, oh, well, I could type my own stuff in here, and but it didn't put the typing pool out of work. It actually freed those all women up to do more rewarding client-facing work. So I think the same is true of AI. There are certain things that it can't achieve. So it's a really interesting that the parallels are still there from back then with the typing pool being out of a job because suddenly we've got Microsoft Word to now AI. The story's about the same thing. But I don't see that happening at all. I think human empathy and judgment and skill is still going to be required in financial advice.
Absolutely. And I think it will encourage people to look at where they can go. Those simple tasks being dealt with by AI, what else can they do? What can they learn? How far can they push themselves?
I think you're talking about the schools there. I was just thinking about some of the conversations that I've seen through attending some of the events around women being underrepresented, or at least not seeking as much advice, financial, having less control on money, that kind of thing, being an underserved population, and the extent to which that might be feeding the succession, and let alone think about career, not even using it as a service. It's probably
that comes back to traditional gender roles again, doesn't it? In the family, that the patriarchal male looks after the finances and goes out to work and support. That background is what's driven all this. And I think women are 50% of financial advisors' clients, so there has to be a huge opportunity there and huge potential to tap into that market for those that really look at it properly. But again, for me, we've talked about this kind of support operational role that we fall into, administrative role. It's leadership that we need to be driving women towards, because leadership needs diversity, strategy needs diversity for it to work. You need those different perspectives, and women's voices have a lot to give in the room for that. So I think the more we can do to drive women towards leadership roles, I think we'll start to change things for better.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Final question then, in case you've been inspired of our listeners and they happen to be women in financial services, want to get involved, what do they do next?
If you're on LinkedIn, look out on LinkedIn for our posts, the Women in Finance Collective. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Tessa Lee. Get your invite to the next Women in Finance Collective session. That's the best place to find out what we're doing. We've also got a LinkedIn group on there for the women that are coming along to those events. And bring a friend. We're asking everybody to bring a friend with them. Spread it across your network, because the more we can, drive momentum here, the better it will get. So get on LinkedIn and get in touch. Or you can look me up on my website, www.moneyinfo.com as well. So lots of easy ways to get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Agent Reid as well on LinkedIn, myself, Gemma Lounge on LinkedIn, and you can go to our website, jigsawtree.com. But I would say absolutely come along. I think you'll take
the first step.
Yeah, you'll get a lot out of it.
And you get food as well.
You do. You get really well fed.
That's a good reason to come, isn't it?
Sometimes there's a glass of fizz as well.
They may, absolutely. Depending on the day, time.
Exactly,
yeah.
Thanyour you so much for taking time out of your busy days to come and talk to us about this important initiative.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
That was Tessa Lee, the Managing Director of Moneyinfo, and Gemma Lounge, the Director of Operations for Jigsaw Tree. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Capital from Supertech and our special 4-part mini-series in collaboration with the Women in Finance Collective. We're also on the Advisor Tech Show podcast feed, so if you're listening there, thanks for joining. I'm Hilary Smith-Allen. Please follow us on your favourite podcast app, and if your app supports it, please give us a rating and review.